Welcome to the show. My name is Cody Scott, and today our guest is another one of my oldest friends in Nashville, a fellow frontman, a visionary, an artist, frontman for Aphonia, one of the biggest personalities in the Nashville music scene. Everybody knows his name, James Cole IV. Welcome to the show, dude.
Hi, thanks, man.
Hi, thank you very much. It's nice to be here. Thank you. So let's talk about our first meeting. So when I got down here in 2018. I think I met you maybe late 2018 or the very beginning of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw you out in the Borough,
Borough
I
Bar and
believe.
Grill, yeah.
The Borough Bar and Grill. And you were playing with whom? Who were you playing with?
Six Semper Tyrannis.
Six
That
Semper
was my-
Tyrannis.
That was my first band. In general, I mean, I always had like stupid, like, friends that would get together and like smoke weed and be like, we're in a band. But
Yeah.
that was my first like real dive into like playing shows, rehearsing all the time and stuff like that. Not, that wasn't that band was fun to be in.
Yeah.
But
well,
it was not.
It was interesting because as a frontman myself, I hadn't met anybody yet that would like counter my frontman mentality and how I was on stage and shit and stuff. And basically when we walked in there, I think it was me and Tim at the very beginning of Sidewinder. I don't even know if we had played it. We maybe played our first show, and we were trying to network. So we went out to the Borough and saw random bands. I don't even know if we knew anybody. But I remember walking in and you had already started. And I was like, who the fuck is that kid with a bandana? Who the fuck is that guy? And you were like rowdy as fuck. Like super rowdy. And I remember it was very like southern metal, like very Pantera-esque.
It was a ripoff of Lamb of God and Pantera for sure.
Fair enough. I mean, Sidewinder. Yeah. But I remember walking in there and I was like, I felt this gush of like, whether it's insecurity or jealous or it was something that I hadn't felt since like football, which as a football player, it was just competitive all the time. And I remember walking in and I was like, who the fuck does this kid think he is? Fucking rolling on this stage, fucking steamrolling the fucking crowd. That's my fucking thing. And I remember Tim looks over to me and he's like, that's James. And I was like, who the fuck's James? We hadn't met anyone yet, so I didn't know how he knew you. I think we had friended you on Facebook. But then quickly after, we became very close friends because we were like, it felt like we were like brothers from a different world, kind of. I think you were more, it seemed like in the emo metal scene, I was more rock, like Pearl Jam, freaking grunge music, and you were more like, when I met you, I was like, oh, he's like Lamb of God, more hardcore metal instead. And I was like, we're just like brothers from two different versions of reality. What bands were you into when you like were growing up?
It really depended on what timeline we're talking about.
Let's talk about 12 to 15.
12 to 15. Okay, so I went from only listening to Pantera and Slayer, and Lamb of God and stuff like that to I like really started getting into like metalcore, emo, post-hardcore.
What bands?
So
Just random, whatever comes to your brain.
Asking Alexandria.
Okay.
Motionless in White, Of Mice and Men, Attack. And then I was also super into like Typo Negative, Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie. And then like I slowly started getting into like the more pop punky, I guess, sides of things with like A Day to Remember. Crown the Empire was definitely, I remember my first time hearing a band like that, like the metalcore era, was I was dating this girl at like 12 or 13 years old. And
dating, hugging, kissing,
dating,
holding hands.
Yeah. I used to go, I remember like we used to basically just like hang out at her house. And she would just like we would just sit around and listen to music and like eat food, whatever, fucking hanging out as kids. And we watched a lot of like Adventure Time and Courage the Cowardly Dog and stuff like that. And then back then, a good way of like finding new music and stuff, as at least for me, was on demand music choice. Yeah, dude. Like that's how I found out about Asking Alexandria and all them. But like we were over there, we were just like shifting through music, and Crown the Empires, The Fallout came on, and I was like, what the fuck is this? As a kid, it just like I instantly fell in love with it, and then it just like it really I went down the rabbit hole of breaking away from like the like the fucking greasy hair, baggy pants,
Straightened.
fucking. I wasn't even straightened. I didn't like even grow or straighten my hair out yet. Really, I was just
it wasn't even that time yet.
yeah, I was just like I was like my dad's son. I wanted to listen to fucking Pantera and Alice in Chains and Whitesnake and fucking fucking Slayer galore. And then like I broke away from like that I would call it like back then that was like the elitist metal. Was like like just like the fucking the sweaty fucking you wear cargo shorts all the time and a cut off, and that's about it.
Gross was in.
And then I guess throughout high school, I started getting into like the even darker stuff. I started going into like industrial metal, like a lot of Rammstein and like stuff like Death Stars. And then like I got into like Cyclone 9.
When was it in that amalgamation of, I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm trying it. When was it during that time where you were like, I could sing? Maybe I could sing. Maybe I could be a front man. Not yet.
No. Growing up, so at first I like really like I will say like I idolized my father being a musician and being a metal musician.
And who's your father, just for the audience?
Tom Cole, Sick Tom
Cole of
Voodoo Prophet. At one point it was just and like nothing I say about my father here is like trying to paint him as a bad person, because he's a wonderful man, and we have the best relationship that we've ever had in my entire life, and he's a really, really good dude. But he's also, like we talked about before, a human being,
right?
And he had his issues, and he lived his life and with those issues. So growing up, like doing the band stuff, like he wasn't around as much as like I wanted, or I guess needed him to be. So I ended up like at one point just like seeing like what it did between him and my mom and everything else. I was just like, fuck that, I don't want to do that. As much as I loved music and like music was like a big part of my personality, I didn't want to be a musician.
Right.
That didn't come until I was 20 years old, and we can get into that, but that's an Evan Bird story.
Because that's about when I met you, right?
You met me very shortly after, yes, because I didn't want to do the music thing. I was just, cooking in kitchens and, being 19 and fucking whatever. I ran away from home at 17, so I kind of just went on a baller roll of fuck ups and partying for my first part of my adulthood. And then I was at a bar, and Evan was like, "Ain't your daddy a musician?
Evan
Ain't
Bird.
your daddy a singer?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Man, come outside. Come out to my truck, man." And we go out to his truck, and he puts on a Conniption CD.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Man, this is my band. I don't want to sing no more. I just want to play guitar."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Your daddy's a singer. You can sing too, can't you?" And I was like, "No, man, probably not really." But for some reason, like I heard this one song, "Crystallize."
Yeah. I remember that song.
It's such a good fucking
song. So good, dude.
It moved me, and like I pictured seeing myself on stage singing that song.
Yeah.
And it gave me a fucking hard on. I was like, fuck it.
Well, also with Evan's personality, Evan Bird, people, by the way, fantastic human. Love that boy. He was one of the first people we met along with you. I think that maybe that night or shortly after, but Evan's personality is just fucking infectious immediately. Just big old southern, what is it, Louisiana? Big old drawl on this boy. And, so It's weird because when I saw you on stage, I was like, this kid's been doing this for years. I got to catch up.
That was like my third or fourth show.
That's hilarious, because it seems like we were both starting pretty recently from it. Like, it was pretty soon after each other, because I had never screamed in a metal band ever, and you hadn't either. And just, it's funny because now I have the confidence to look back and realize that we had this weird impulse to be frontmen for whatever reason. I wonder what that is. Like, if we were hams when we were a kid, if we needed more attention when we were kids, maybe. Or
I would say that.
Yeah,
probably a big part of it.
yeah, it's like why you're silly, why you're goofy, why you know try to make jokes or make light of things.
Yeah.
Because it's you're not getting enough. Like, maybe you didn't get enough hugs as a kid, or maybe you didn't get enough attaboys or whatever it was. And it's like there's no shot on my parents either, but it's like I had two older brothers, I was the youngest one, and then they were like, I mean, they had been through it twice already, and I was just like constantly trying. I was dancing. I was trying to get attention at all times. Our lives, like I said, alternate universes, completely different, but at the same time, I think we're very alike in the way that we use our impulses and maybe our bad character traits in good ways. Like, we try our best anyways. Like, once we get on stage, you'll see a psycho. Like, you'll see a version of a person that you're almost scared of, but you can't take your eyes off of, sort of thing. And I think we both have that as far as like lights, camera, action go. And I don't know what that is, but it's pretty interesting to think about, like, why we are like that. But anyway, we can get back to where were we? Talking about when we first met, Sic Semper Tyrannis. Oh, I remember when we walked in that bar, the Burrow, you were screaming your ass off. And who was the guitarist? Roger. I don't remember much about that guy, but I do remember someone pouring, like, he was like very Dimebag Darrell, like he wanted to be or whatever. And he had this big old Dean with this giant fucking V-neck thing, and someone was pouring a beer down his chest like they were missing his mouth all over his guitar. And I was just like, who the fuck are these guys? And I'm with Tim, who's like a very quiet, who's our lead guitarist. And I was like, this is very different. We're very different from these people, but it was pretty fascinating to watch. And I don't remember how we became friends.
I remember you came up afterwards, and you literally were just like, after talking for 5 seconds, you were like, bro, I feel like we're the same person.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And then you ended up coming. You guys drove all the way out to Columbia, because that's where I was staying at. I was sleeping on my friend's couch at the time.
Yeah.
In Columbia. So we played the show, and then we left.
Did we come hang after?
You came all the way to fucking Columbia from Murfreesboro.
Very blurry time, people. Sorry. He brought it up now. I remember.
We were sitting at my buddy Jesse's table in his kitchen, and it's funny because, like, you also said this, like, the same thing, like, I feel like we're the same person. You said it like 5 times that night.
Yeah.
And at one point I was just like, okay, buddy, what
you were like, who the fuck is this kid?
I was like, because at the time, like, I was very.
You hadn't seen me yet either in any capacity of, like, metal music.
No. And I hadn't been having a good time. Really at, like, meeting the right people yet, and like being young and watching my father in this music scene and, like, seeing all the situations that he went through and all the drama and all the bullshit that happened, I didn't want to trust anybody.
Yeah.
So, like, I was very.
You were going through it. I do remember that.
Yeah. I was very guarded.
Yeah.
For everything, but then, like, I think it took like one more hangout. I was just like, nah, I love this guy.
Yeah. It's so weird because I knew it instantly. You hadn't seen me. I think once you saw me with Sidewinder, you're like, oh, I get it, sort of deal. But
I remember actually the next time that we hung out, because you asked me that. I'm pretty sure it was that night.
Yeah.
You asked me to come be on a Sidewinder song. So I remember I woke up late as fuck.
Was that Immaculate?
Yeah, you guys were already at the fucking.
I'm gonna
studio.
try and peep that in here.
That'd be cool
in the video. But yeah, keep talking about that.
I remember. I said yes, and it was very soon after that it was supposed to happen. Yeah. And then I woke up and woke up late as fuck, to where, like, I called you and I had to be like, holy shit, dude, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm about to leave right now. And you were just like, you know what, man? Like, if you can't make it, it's fucking whatever at this point. And I was just like, no, dog, I'm coming. I promise. Like, I'm coming. And then
you know how many flippy people are in this town.
Yeah.
And I'd already been jaded. I was living here for 2 or 3 years by the time I met you. And I'd been fucking bailed on so many times to where you become hardened. And you dealt with it too, people who bail. It's whether it's photographers, videographers, musicians, you have to be like, all right, have fun. I'll see you later.
Yeah, whatever, dude. Fuck you.
I know you might have been upset, but I'm like, I didn't know you very well either. So I was like, maybe this is another kid who's going to bail. But we found out later. Obviously not. But
yeah, no, I got there and I remember we were out back. I think Tim was still recording. Tim re-recorded a fucking solo like 86 times or some shit like that.
Sounds about right.
And so we went outside and we were just like trying to like do like the high 80s metal sing scream of like Pantera Cemetery Gates. Like,
yeah. The like, very end of Cemetery Gates.
And we were just back there and you were like, dude, fucking do that. And I tried and I couldn't. I got in there.
I wish someone got footage of that because we looked like we were outside. I don't know if it's closed down now, but it's called Q Studios. We had a friend / engineer who was doing a internship there, and I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. It's been a long time, but he gave us a free recording session because he was doing an internship, and we wanted to do this song called Immaculate, and I remember we got this drummer and named Caleb, and he was a freak of nature, and nothing like we had ever seen before, sort of deal. And I wish someone got footage of that day, bro. We have a few pictures that I'll try and post in here, but that day sort of changed my outlook on like community in general because, like I said, I was pretty jaded at that point, but like, and I was just, fucking insecurities, dealing with my own bullshit and just like not trusting anyone. And I remember after that day, I was like, oh, there's something was brewing, like a friendship, family sort of vibe, because you and Caleb weren't in Sidewinder, but that day was so much fun that I was like, okay. And that sort of started the beginnings of what sort of became like a little family down here. And, and people came and went as far as that family goes. But,
I remember that Caleb, though we didn't get to hang out. I would say like a shit ton is in like really close friends, but I ended up seeing him a lot afterwards. We even did a tour together where he was drumming for a band that I was working with.
Right.
So like we went on tour. That little circle that we had was like really, really good people. Because like Caleb, like I remember like one time my tire fucking went flat when everyone else went to this after party and someone gave us the wrong address. So everyone else left to still go to the party, but he fucking stayed behind and helped me goddamn put a tire on my car.
Yeah.
Like that was the kind of people that we had.
Yeah.
At that point, like, and how faithful everyone was trying to be for each other, like reliable and just it was a very good. It was real good there for a moment.
Yeah. Well, and if people don't know, I don't love talking about this, but his name's Caleb Lubchow, and he passed away. He was a very close friend of very close friend of Tim Hutchins, our guitarist, like very close. Like they were texting every day. They were besties when it came to music, and it came to he was like one of the nicest people I've ever met, and it's always that fucking person that this happens to. And the most, probably like Tommy's right up there with him, but like Caleb is one of the best drummers I've ever seen. Like
he was
freak. And not only that, but he was like the sweetest boy as well. Like he was just a freaking golden retriever as a human.
He was also the stinkiest boy ever on tour.
Yeah. Well, you stink yourself, bud. You get pretty stinky yourself.
I do.
But yeah, I don't know. It's The way the friendship started was pretty crazy, and we sort of bonded over booze and weed, I think, a little bit. But that's how your early 20s are, right?
I mean, yeah, in general, usually from what I heard.
From what I heard.
But maybe not get as bad as we did with it.
Well, we could fast forward a little bit. Let's go to where we shot In Your Sleep. So we got together with a videographer named Austin Schursberg, who you still work with today, right? Schursberg. Austin.
You know what?
Care.
That's actually he's such a close homie now.
Yeah.
And I've worked with him a bunch, and I still don't know if it's Schursberg or Schursberg. I don't think I've ever asked him.
I don't care. You'll be fine, Austin. He's doing okay. Boy's worked with Apple and shit. He's doing fine. But he's an incredible videographer. He drove fucking, I think, from California to Tennessee to come shoot that video.
Probably.
In his Prius.
Basically what he does.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
he just
gnarly.
drives around and does that.
Yeah, and then it was my first instance of directing a music video. I remember I had literal, like, just regular lined paper and wrote out like 3 pages of what I thought was directing a video, and then I realized how big and encompassing that was. Like, once we got there, he got all his cameras set up. It's like, okay, let's go. And I didn't realize it'd be like a 13-hour shoot.
Yeah.
And
you wanted a lot.
Yeah, I wanted a lot. And we got a lot. That video is pretty gnarly. We wanted sort of like the Iowa Slipknot vibe, which we kind of got out of that with a little storytelling. And I got to hit you with a stick a few times, so that was pretty fun.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and drag you into the little barn and murder you.
I remember there was a shot where it was supposed to be the shot where you hit me in the back with that, like, to make me stumble.
Yeah.
And I went so hard in the paint on trying to make it look like I just hit the ground real hard. Yeah. So I was literally like diving into the fucking ground, diving my body into, like, smacking it hard, making it as real as fuck.
We gotta sell the scene.
And it never got put in the fucking video. I hurt myself.
He fast forwarded the whole thing. I was just like, oh, I hit him with a stick like 13 times. And the scene that I remember is when I dragged you into the barn. And then I'm like smashing your head in.
And there's one time you hit me in the tummy.
Well, not that. You were spitting blood in my face.
Oh yeah, there's that. Yeah, yeah.
So we had this. I don't remember if it was fake blood or I think the makeup artist. What was her name?
Amy.
Yeah. She brought this fake blood stuff, and more than 2 people spit blood from their mouths onto my face that day.
But me and Silas.
Yeah. Which is so disgusting, bro. I was just like, we need the shot. You got to spit on my face, like, a lot. And every time I swung, you'd be like, spit right in my face. I'd be like, oh. But, yeah, I think that video came out pretty sick. In Your Sleep on YouTube, on all platforms. Go check it out right now. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about, that was 2019. Let's talk about the pandemic and how that went for us. I think between the riots, the marches, trying to feel normal, pretending it's not happening, and then and what that came with. I think for me anyway, the beginning of that pandemic is when I started to nosedive directly into what I didn't realize was alcoholism a little bit. And not a little bit, a lot of it. Yeah, a lot of it. And well, because with all the stuff going on, the news cycles, our generation was not ready for the amount of press that pandemic was going to push on us and, like, pressure. And none of us were ready for it. We're all broke. We're all, like, running on fumes already. And then they're like, here's $600. And it's like, okay, I'll spend that on Jack Daniels. And
that's what we did.
That's what we did. And I just remember, I don't even remember where I was living at the time. Oh, I was living with...
You're living in the apartments down the street from here.
Yeah, with 2 alcoholics.
Yeah.
One guy who drank 18 beers a day, and the other one who's drinking just liquor because it's safer, which is hilarious, bro. But I was just like, I was around so many alcoholics, so I was like, I remember my 12-year-old self was like, you'll never drink alcohol, you'll never smoke cigarettes, but, like, that point in my life is when I was like, I'm fully disgusting. Like, and it started to like ripple inside of my body where it was like a chain reaction. I felt gross, I looked gross, and then I treated myself like absolute shit and just like drank and drank and drank. And we had nothing to do. We couldn't go shows. We weren't allowed to do anything. And I remember the only thing we could do is sit at home. And for people who are mentally ill, sitting at home is unsafe. Like Chester Bennington said, it's not a nice neighborhood up here. And my coping mechanism was just sitting there every single night, drinking, maybe smoking a little weed, and then trying to put together these songs. But when you're that drunk all the time, you never really those songs never see the light of day. Like I've written, all my friends know I have like 700 songs in notebooks in my closet right now, which probably won't ever see the light of day because I was hammered most of the time. But it was just like I was like dotting the line between full-blown alcoholic. Steve-O said something recently where he's like, I'm glad I was like an absolute terror drunk. At first I was like, huh? And then he's like, because I had no other option but to stop. And I think the thing that kept me from stopping is I was like, I have a job. I have a roof over my head. I haven't gotten arrested. Haven't killed anyone. Haven't crashed my car. So I was like, I'm not a diabolical drunk. And I didn't slur. My tolerance became ridiculous. And I was drinking 14 Busch Lights and half a bottle of Jack Daniels and just fine. Like not really slurring. But then waking up the next day with these hangovers that would be an absolute nightmare. So that brings me to, there was a time period where me and you were having these basically sleepovers. I mean, adult sleepovers, ladies and gentlemen, where you would come over for like 1 to 3 weeks. We would get Jack Daniels every single day. We'd get PBRs or something like that. Smoke all the cigarettes.
We would get food.
We'd get food.
Well, cook food.
Talk about the lasagna. Do you remember it? The Cheetos?
Oh, no, that's a casserole, homie.
What was it?
Fucking hot Cheeto casserole. That's where I started my hot Cheeto casserole. I've made it so many times since then. But like that was the first time I ever made one. That was a drunk
experiment, bro.
It was so good. It was half of it was Cheetos and half of it was Takis. Or hot Cheetos. It was hot Cheetos and then half of it Takis.
And we were like, this is the best idea.
Dude, I still believe it is. The one thing I have a complaint about is the next day it's pink. So it doesn't look as appetizing.
I could not handle that. I just remember we were in the kitchen. I was like, this is the best idea. Shot. Let's get another beer. What else can we do to this lasagna or casserole or whatever the fuck? But anyways, me and you were having these sleepovers and because the pandemic was happening. It's like we were like 13, but we're adults and we had the ability to buy alcohol.
Yeah.
So it was like winter vacation sort of deal because it was winter time. I remember that.
Yeah, and we got snowed in at one point.
Yeah, I remember I basically broke my shoulder
trying to snowboard.
Shit-faced snowboarding.
Yeah,
with no gear. It was just like shoes and a snowboard. Yeah, and we would go to my apartment's gym complex because they kept it open 24/7. And I remember we would just pregame at the house. We'd probably have like 7 beers here or there, maybe bring a couple shots, and then we'd get to like midnight and we'd go over to the gym because nobody was there, and I'd set up my laptop.
Also had great acoustics.
It had great acoustics. We would warm up and it would just echo heavenly. But I would set up my laptop. I'd set up this SM7B. And we would do full-blown, like, covers of songs, just screaming our brains out, like Slipknot, like
Blink-182, shit like Stained and fucking. It was just Seether, whatever the fuck. Like it was.
Yeah.
And then we started like writing actual songs.
Yeah.
And that's when like we went hard in the paint. It'd be like, you know, that's when it became like 3 weeks at a time and shit like that. Like it would just be like, all right, we're writing.
Yeah.
And then like it would come to the point to where finally both of us would just go, okay, take a couple days or a week, and then we'd go right back into it again.
Well, and I just remember that time. It's interesting because it was so joyous because I had so much fun during those moments when we were in the gym, you know, and I remember like we'd wake up, we wouldn't even go to sleep, but like we'd see the sunrise as we were leaving the gym, shit faced after writing songs. We were smoking cigarettes outside this gym. And I remember people like walking to the gym like 5, 6, 7 in the morning, and we were coming out with our leathers on
and our fucking
laptop
guitars and
acoustics, and they were like, "What the fuck is going on here?" We never got kicked out, surprisingly. And I remember one time, me and you, we got drunk all night, recorded all night, stayed up till the sunrise, and we thought it was a good idea to go swimming at the lake. Do you remember this? It was one time, and I ate shit. We walked through the trail to Percy Priest. Sun was rising. It was not summertime. And we were like, let's go swim. Let's go swim. And we got to the point after the trail where the water begins, and the first step I take, slip and eat shit on a rock. And I was like, I'm fine. And then we woke up the next morning, and my whole fucking forearm was like a pumpkin. But like, this is the type of shit me and James were doing during the pandemic. But it's like, it was so fun to think of those moments, but it was also so fucking dark, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I started shifting from drinking and doing drugs to have a good time to drinking and doing drugs to get through my fucking day.
Yeah.
I remember I had the night of like the breakdown that I had. I was at Evan Bird's apartment. I was sleeping on his couch at the time. No, actually, I think I had my own little room with a blow-up mattress and everything. And it was like right when shit was just getting real serious with like all the Black Lives Matter like protests and stuff like that. And we were not supposed to be hanging out. Who fucking cares? It was like me and Sam and Evan and like I think like 2 other people, maybe Robbie. And we were at Sam's house swimming in his pool, and we just like out of nowhere started hearing like, you know, like cop cars and stuff like that, and a shit ton of them. And then we saw like a bunch of helicopters, one after the other, like all going around, news helicopters and whatever. And we were like, what the fuck? And then Sam checks his phone, and there's a live stream happening. It's getting shared all around the place of a protest that's happening at MTSU, which Evan lived in the apartments right across the street from them. So people, or like there was like cops and stuff showing up in fucking SWAT gear. I remember that at one point National Guard was deployed on like some of the protests and stuff. It was just getting wild.
Shooting bean bags.
And fucking they ended up like fucking tear gassing them and shit like that. But like we were like, oh well fuck, we probably need to go home, because like I remember I'm pretty sure they put like the city under a curfew that night.
It was like lockdown fully.
Yeah. And so we drove, you know, Evan lived right down the street from Sam, so it took us 5 minutes to get back, and then we stopped and we're like, well, don't know how long this is gonna last, so might as well get as much booze as possible.
Yeah.
So I ended up drinking like a couple pints, I think at least, of whiskey that night. And I remember that there was just like, you heard gunshots for like hours. Like you would just be sitting there, you'd be watching TV, and then through the sliding glass back door, you just heard gunshots in the air. And I mean, it was like, you know, it's not the best apartment complex in the first place, but it wasn't from inside the even that apartments. It was like protesters and stuff getting shot by beanbags, and then like there was
it was pandemonium.
Yeah, it was literally just like, you know, like people actually shooting each other, and then people getting shot by like, you know, like police trying to like get people inside and whatever. and I just like I broke the fuck down. I had panic attacks growing up, but they kind of disappeared for a while in my teenage years, and then like they were never this serious. But like that night, I completely broke the fuck down, and like full fetal position on the floor, couldn't move, couldn't breathe. And then after that, like it just my brain snapped, and it was like for weeks I couldn't function. And I was diagnosed with stuff as a kid, but like I thought growing up that it would be whatever. I never really thought about it. But then after that, I just I had to drink, I had to do drugs every day just to get through. Because if I didn't, I was too scared to leave wherever I was sleeping, whether it be on a couch or the street or whatever. Throughout this breaking point that I had in my brain, it just
it becomes maintenance, like the Tin Man with the oil. It's no longer party time. Let's get drunk. It's because we both sort of had the same sort of mental snap, and I think a lot of people might like look at this on the face and be like, "Oh, you're just alcoholics," and it's like, no, I think it's a lot bigger and grayer than that.
It's deeper.
Yeah, I think the mental health of our generation isn't. I mean, it's talked about almost too much, and it's like kind of foggy at this point. But like, I think, like when our brains snapped, mine snapped shortly after, and it snapped before that in my early 20s, like with the Adderall stuff, that I was prescribed, and it'll make you insane. I don't give a fuck how many of you say it makes you feel the best you've ever felt. It's because it's meth. Let's talk about it. I felt incredible. My whole family will tell you he was a fucking psycho on Adderall. And but anyway, it went from Adderall to alcohol, and then the same sort of thing happened to me, and you were there, which was an absolute nightmare. And that my oldest brother went through a schizophrenic / bipolar moment, acid induced, but either way. So one morning after one of these drunken evenings in the gym, where it wasn't a morning, it was late afternoon because we went to sleep at like 8 a.m. But basically we had drank all night, and I'd been doing that for months now during the pandemic, and it was fun. And then miserable hangovers, but like kept it going. And then probably 2 months into that, I woke up at probably 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and I was hallucinating. Like I thought I had a demon in the corner of my room. And I'm not a religious guy very much. I'm like, I'm kind of tiptoeing on it right now, right? Actually, but like, then I certainly wasn't, and I was literally seeing a demon hovering in the corner of my room. And I didn't know whether it was withdrawals from the alcohol or I had fully snapped, like mentally. And I thought I was turning into like the schizophrenic. I legit remember seeing something, hearing something, having you come in the room because you were sleeping outside on the couch, I think, and just being absolutely like terrified because it felt like it was like choking me down in my bed. And I remember you just looking at me like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, I don't know, I was like frozen sort of thing. And so you're like, "I'm gonna bring you to the hospital like right now." And I remember getting to the hospital and getting put. You were in the ER with me, and we went to this room or whatever with the doctor. And then I'll forever remember this because my brother got 5150'd, which is forcibly put into an institution sort of deal. And so I remember that pretty well. And I remember going into this ER like, I don't know what's about to happen, and then I don't know if I should tell the full truth. And then we got in there, the doctor came in and started talking to me, all calm, cool and collected. And both me and you are hungover as shit, first of all. Like, we're both like absolutely in hell week. Like, the lights in the room are just like, oh. Both want to puke, both feel awful, but also I was hallucinating. And I remember the doctor started talking to me, and the nurse started taking my phone subtly, and then taking my keys, taking my shoes and they started putting it in a bag. And I remember in the room, you were like eyeballing me. You were in the corner of the room, like, and and I was like, what's happening? And I realized what they were doing. And then I had started telling the truth, and I realized what they were about to do because I was suicidal at the time. And they were like, are you thinking about harming yourself or anybody else? And that moment, I saw them putting the shit in the plastic bag, and I was like, no, I actually think I'm just having a panic attack. I think I'm okay, and I think I'm fine. I think I'm just overreacting. And they were like, nah. But I just remember wanting to get out of that fucking room so badly because I knew they were gonna lock me the fuck up if I kept talking, and probably should have been. You know what I'm saying? Like, definitely should have been locked up because that was obviously really, really bad. But I don't know where I was going with that, but it was just an interesting. I remember that was kind of the start of the less fun, more need of the boozing. But we were also in the middle of Found Underneath, the band we were trying to start together, and that was an interesting dichotomy because two frontmen. Let the audience know, two frontmen working together is fun in an idea, and then it gets way more difficult as the actual things go on, because we're two pretty hardcore characters and different at the same time, very much the same at the same time, but it's really hard, and to stay friends during that whole thing was also very hard.
I mean, and there was also the fact that, like, at the time I was homeless.
Yeah.
I was homeless, so like I felt so safe when I was with you.
Yeah.
That like I just wanted to be around you as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I know that at one point we were around each other so much, and beforehand like we could do it nonstop and it was fine, but like when we both really started like teetering into having serious fucking issues, we started fighting, we started arguing, like, and it was never like we never yelled at each other.
Like bickering.
Yeah, it was
like a married couple.
It's like you're in a fucking car and like, you know, you're just like, God, I wish you would shut the fuck up right now.
We loved each other. It's that sort of thing. It's where it's real family shit. It's what you do with your actual siblings. When you're together too much, you eventually start being like, I'm fucking sick of this fucking guy sometimes. I swear to fucking God. And but we also were leaning on each other at the same time because I think me and you both were going through let's just say toxic relationships.
Yeah.
And it felt very homeless for like I was in an apartment, but before that I'd been popping around too, like couch surfing, friend hopping. So I knew what you were going through at that time, and I was like, I'm gonna hang with him a lot. So at least you had somewhere to go for a second, at least. But then between the toxic girlfriends, the hanging all the time, I think we both like sort of got to this mega dark place where it was like just booze and then like being ups. I think we're both very sensitive as well, sensitive creatures. So we weren't the violent creatures in our toxic relationships. I think me and you were more on the other end of like falling apart because of it. Yeah. Like we weren't the Kyles of the fucking of the.
No, I mean like honestly, I mean like, you know, I hate using the word toxic. But we were the victims of like shitty relationships. Sure. Yeah. We were definitely like on the other side of like they were, you know, like whether it be mentally or physically abusive, we both like had girlfriends that like hit us. Yeah. And like that would fucking manipulate and like, you know, just balls to the wall, like you question your sanity every day.
Talk about the word gaslight.
Yeah.
I learned that pretty recently in my life and I was like, oh, that's what that is. But also I've been a nightmare. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I wasn't an absolute wreck.
Oh no, I was a wreck too, but I will always stand 10 toes down on the fact that like I have never tried to be manipulative. I've never been abusive. I've definitely been clingy.
Yeah. Me too. We're sensitive creatures. Like
yeah, like, you know, like definitely like gone down the path of like a girl gives me slight attention and I'm just like hitting them up all the time, you know, like,
go.
yeah, please, please hang out with me.
Yeah.
But like, I've never been the abusive one. I've always been the abused in relationships. So like, I never, until recently, I didn't even know what like a happy relationship was.
Yeah. Well, the scary part is it's for me, it's leaked into my adulthood. Like in my early 20s, I was hella like I hate that word. I'm gonna stop doing that.
I was hella.
I was.
What were you hella?
Hella bad at relationships, meaning I was on Adderall and I shouldn't have been. I was prescribed it, only took my one a day, but boy was I ramped the fuck up on.
And then drinking on top of Adderall is already
right.
a
Well,
fucking thing.
At this point, like my early 20s, I was just doing the Adderall and smoking cigarettes and weed. And only prescribed. I wasn't snorting them, folks, but I was completely insane. Like I remember I was with a girlfriend. And that why I'm saying this is because it leaked into other relationships. Like, I had this one girlfriend when I was 22, right before I got here, and she was taking Vyvanse, I was taking Adderall, and we would fight like cats and dogs, bro. And never like physical, but all emotional. Like I remember we were that trailer park trash where it's like screaming in the streets at each other, but then like hugging and having sex right after that, and then just a constant cycle of mental abuse, and then it traumatizes you for the rest of your adulthood. You're like a hurt dog, essentially. You're like, any girl can hurt me at any moment. She can rip my heart into pieces, and I don't know. I'm like, I remember what you were going through with that certain lady.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit if you want.
Man, yeah. So I went. So I had this Tinder date that turned into a Stockholm syndrome situation. I went and hung out with this chick that I met on Tinder. She was in the military and she was stationed in town, and she basically lived at this hotel, and like a shit ton of other Army people or Air Force people, or no. Yeah, fucking, I can't remember what she was.
One of them.
Well, yeah. And she, I remember going there that night, and like, she was all over me, right? But then like, all the dudes were super flirty with her, and she was a little flirty back. But then at one point, I remember I was sitting in a hotel room, really questioning who the fuck I was at that point, because she was laying on a bed.
Was this the hotel party?
No, this is the first time I met her.
Oh, okay.
She was laying on a bed, and there was something like, it was like a trimmer or something like that, like a beard trimmer. And I remember somebody said something about something, and she ended up putting that thing, not the razor end, but like just like letting it vibrate and putting it on her vagina. But actually, no, she didn't do it. Another guy, she was like, I bet you won't. And he went up there and fucking put it on there. And I literally about got up and left, but I was like, the young mentality of like, I never thought I was an attractive person. So the fact that like this hot chick was gonna bang me that night, and I knew it was gonna happen.
And
was
you
just like,
liked her a lot.
I did like her a lot when I met her too. So like, yeah, it was just like all these emotions. And then we ended up fucking that night, and we went on like 2 dates afterwards. Crazier than hell, but at the end of the day, I still think I think she tries to have good intentions, maybe, but
I don't think anybody really maliciously wants to be a psycho. I think they just are and don't know it.
Yeah, well,
it's a narcissist type thing.
I got off that date with her, and then like the day after, she called me and she was like, "Hey, I have COVID," and then I was staying with some people. And because I had COVID and it was fresh and everyone was freaking out about it, they were like, "You can't stay here anymore. Right. You have to go."
So once again,
bounced, and I was about to be on the street. She was like, "No, fuck that. Come.
Yeah.
Come. We'll what was it? Lock down or whatever together. Yeah. We'll quarantine together."
Yeah.
And those 2 weeks of quarantine, just I ended up never fucking leaving afterwards. Yeah. And I like helped take care of her kid, and like we were together for a while. And
got a dog together.
Yeah. So it turns out she was cheating on me. I got driven to the point of like, and I don't think there's really any excuse for it, but at the same time, I think it was in this situation. in a healthy relationship, you shouldn't feel like you have to do this and you shouldn't go over this boundary. But
Yeah.
I ended up going through her phone while she was asleep.
Yeah.
Because
it happens in relationships when you feel unsafe.
yeah,
for
and
sure.
there was like 3 or 4 different people in there that she was fucking,
Who's
like
Kyle? Who's Chad? Who's
yeah,
Brian?
yeah,
Who's, yeah.
and so I ended up trying to leave, and then I didn't. And like, dude, like it got to the point to where like she would just be like screaming at me, like she couldn't find her keys, and like she would just be like yelling at me and throwing shit, and it got to the point to where like I still had nowhere else to go, but I had to leave. And I ended up, we got a dog for me because my therapist recommended that I get a service animal.
Yeah.
At that point, my mental health was so fucking bad. So I'm already at that point, and then I'm having to deal with somebody who's fucking just like mentally abusive every goddamn day. And I left. I took the dog with me, and then she ended up calling the cops because she's the one who, when we got him, she put her name on the adoption papers. I didn't even think about it. So she called the cops and said that I stole the dog from her, and that I was a violent person, and that she was too scared to come get the dog herself. So she had cops. I went to my dad's house. She had cops come out to my dad's house, like twice. And then on that last time, they were like, "You have to give the dog up." I remember when I walked the dog to the fucking cop car. She was in there was a few other cop cars, and she was in her car behind all of them.
Well, what's interesting about this too is we look like how we look, right?
Yeah. They were looking at me like, dude. I remember I was like,
this guy's a violent criminal.
Why the fuck are you guys like? They're like, hands on guns the entire time and like fucking puffed up, and I'm like, my dude, this is my dog. Yeah. Like, here's what's hilarious, going on.
Dude, what's really interesting is you look hard, right? You look like a hard individual. But like
I'm such a stance the person.
I know. But like most people, like what the audience might not know is anyone in the metal community who looks angry, chronic dick face, maybe a shaved head, maybe some neck tattoos, some gauges. Typically, I've been proven completely, like, I've been swayed completely because on the outside it's like scary. They're scary. Their personalities are scary. They must be mean people, but it's like everyone in the metal community that looks like that tend to be the sweetest, most harmless people in the world. Like my oldest brother was a scary individual with his gauges and tattoos and nose rings and lip rings and whatever, but he was the sweetest person ever. So I imagine when the cops got there, they look at the sweet girl in the cop car who called the cops, who's in the Air Force or whatever, and then they look at you and they're like, yeah, fuck this guy. But we're going to take this fucking dog. Get the fuck out of here.
I remember when I handed that dog over that I was crying.
Yeah.
And at one point, the dude officer went away, but there was a lady officer. Yeah. And like she was talking to me, and I explained to her what was actually going on. Yeah. And by the end of it, she looked like she was about to cry. Yeah. Because I was just bawling, and like when I handed the dog over, she just like there was so much pity in her face, and she was like, you know what? She was like, you may have to do this now, but you can take this to court. You can do this. You can do that. And she was also a paramedic. She had a shit ton of money, so if she wanted to, she could have. We could have.
Would have dragged out forever.
Yeah, she would have been able to afford it. Yeah. I fucking couldn't. Yeah. I was homeless. Yeah. I had no job. It was in the middle of fucking COVID. Yeah. Like. I was fucked. Yeah. So I had to give that fucking dog away, and it sucked. It hurt. I remember like me and my dad haven't had many fucking like soft moments, but I remember I sat down on the steps on the porch afterwards, and he like clapped me on my shoulder, and he was like, "I'm sorry, son." And like,
when you get a dog ripped away from you, and not only that, but you were like, it's sort of like a confused. You're in love, but you're also in hate. With this person, and then especially I've had a dog between me and a toxic relationship. This has happened to me before. The dog didn't get taken away. We had to give it back because we were so toxic. It would have blown up. It would have happened like that for sure. But like the shitty part is this stuff leaks into your psyche when you're going through it. You're like, this is a nightmare, but like, and then you get over it, but it's still up here. Like those moments are still up here, And what's interesting is like being in relationships after that, you see how you should be treated, and it feels you're feel like an abused dog. Like sometimes I'll think something like I did something wrong or I said something wrong, and I'm expecting a clap back, and nothing happens, and I'm like, aren't you gonna like freak out or scream or and it's like it's a lot. It takes a lot of therapy to get past those moments in your life where you're like, you have the cops there, everyone's against you, the toxic girlfriend's in the background saying "fuck you," I get the dog, bye bye. You break up. Like I knew that girl was crazy. I remember. I'll tell a story. I'm not gonna tell too much of the story, but like you invited me to a hotel party, and it was with her. And I walked in there. I'd never been to a hotel party. I've been around the world twice, ladies and gentlemen, in the Navy, and I had never been to a hotel party in my life.
There was multiple rooms.
There was multiple rooms, and when I walked in, here's what I first saw: 4 kids running around. This is 2 a.m, by the way. 4 kids running around, probably like 12 adults. There was like little cliques in the back. There was someone hanging in an empty bathtub, like the heart-shaped tub sort of deal. There was, I think it was you and her like on the bed area, and I walked in and I was like, what is a hotel party? And I remember she was giving IVs to people, drunk, like drinking, smoking cigarettes, giving IVs to people. And I was like, and I walked in and she's like, first thing she's like, you want an IV? And I was like, no. Like this is terrifying.
I found there was so many things that were just like horrible red flags that like I knew were red flags, but like
was that the guy throwing fireballs in the parking lot?
Forgot about that. Yeah, fucking people spinning fire in the goddamn parking lot, and then like there's goddamn 4 or 5-year-old kids.
That threw me so off.
That pissed me off so much. Like when I went and shot a music video.
Yeah.
And then I came back, and I had no idea what I was walking into other than she was throwing herself a birthday party. Yeah. And then I get there, and there's fucking people drunk as shit doing coke, smoking weed, doing ecstasy. Yeah. And then like there's like one person who's sober watching over the kids, and it's like, and
they were running around that hotel. That's it.
I was just like, Jesus fucking Christ, what is happening right now?
Yeah. It's a hell of a time. So these meltdowns aren't from nothing. It's like it comes from an amalgam of these types of nights where you're like, I don't know what it's like a circus. It's like this shit's rolling around our heads, and I don't know. It's tough, and the feeling of never having a home. Like right after that, you're bouncing around again, and then I don't know, man. And it's hard to keep those friends. Like once you like Tim, for example, had me live with him for like 6 months, maybe 7 months at some point when I was like 23, 24. I had a mental breakdown in myself, and I couldn't even look at a car. I couldn't even get in a car, sort of deal. And I had such a mental break that I had to live with Tim for so long without a job, and he took me in. He was a great person, right? But once you burn that sort of like favor, then it's hard to like hold on to the friendship. Luckily, like we all have, like all of our friends typically have like held on pretty close. There's a few that bounce, but like I felt so guilty and shameful for so long after bouncing on couches that I felt like I couldn't ask anybody anything ever again, sort of thing. And that's when I started to pull back and kind of like isolate, and then get a real job and just sit on it as long as I possibly could, and until I could like support myself enough. And like now I'm in a place where I am, but for 8 years of my life was just bouncing. And I know you know exactly what that feels like, and it's exhausting. We've aged like many years because of that type of shit. But like the cycle, it was just a cycle of like drinking, because we're talking about maintenance. It's like drink, quit for 2 weeks, drink, quit for 3 months, drink, some more drink. And then like you keep doing this and you keep telling your friends you're going to get sober.
Yeah.
You post on Facebook,
Yep.
like not just you. I'm saying us.
No. Yeah.
These cycles of like I'm gonna get sober, and I actually said when I was 27, I was like, I'll get sober in my 30s.
I remember
like, meh, I'll get sober in my 30s, and all of my friends were like, okay. Okay, I don't see that happening, but okay. They never said it, but it's like anytime I said it, they're like, sounds good, Cody. Like,
Dude, I've gone through so many fucking jobs.
Yeah.
In my 20s because I didn't care enough about being alive in the first place, and like all I wanted to do was be fucked up.
Yeah.
To where like I would, I'd fucking go in, I'd show up late because I was hungover, or I'd miss a day because I was hungover. When I was there, I didn't want to be there. I'd rather be getting fucked up, so I'd get fucked up on the clock.
Yeah.
Or, and then like it went from just like completely disregarding everything about my life to trying really hard but still being an addict, and fucking up while you're trying really hard is like almost worse mentally, because like it just becomes a cycle of like you're okay for a couple days, a couple weeks, a couple months.
When it goes to the pat on the back thing,
yeah,
like you need, when you're in that, you're like, you want somebody to notice that you're trying. Like
you need somebody there that's gonna like help validate the fact that like you're actually doing something,
like
because you don't feel like you're doing something. You every day it's just like trying to get through the day without putting one of those things in your body. Yeah. And like constantly having to fight it.
I would give you some grace, give yourself some grace as well, because though you may have seen yourself like losing jobs because of booze or drugs or whatever, what I saw was, and I was pretty close to you, like I saw you had the obsession of music, and I knew you had this bug more than I did, as far as wanting to tour, wanting to work with Bryson on the road crew, you were trying to bounce around doing music as much as possible within reach. And then I sort of felt like you were like tentative to get a job full time, because you're like, well, what about the music? Because then you were so headstrong on like music that you were like, I mean, the job, I'll get a job, but the music though.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I can't tell you how many jobs I quit because it would be like, I have a show this day, and they're like,
oh, you can't work weekends.
Yeah. Or like, or it'll, I would hold on to it and they would give me the days off, but then eventually they'd be like, you're taking off too many days. This is too much for us. Yeah. Like I put my life on the line constantly in order to be able to play shows, or even just go to other people's shows, or to work shows, or to shoot a music video, or to record, or whatever. Like everything else came after music. Yeah. Because it was the one thing that actually made me feel joy. Any sense of like belonging on this earth. Everything else was just like out the window.
Well, and that's why, like, when you have shows, I show up. Even though, like, even if I don't talk to you for 7 months and you have a show, I'll go. Maybe it's quietly. But, like, I also know that they mean everything to you because of what we've been through and what you've, like, maybe you've shuffled things to the side, but you're like, or you'll drive down to Huntsville, Alabama to go make a new band. Or, like, I know it means everything to you. And that it means everything to us. Like when Sidewinder plays, you show up too, and it's the same sort of deal. But I don't think people realize, like people where I'm from, I don't know about where exactly you're from in Tennessee, but like where I'm from, small town New Hampshire, they look at this like a circus. They look at like, they think they're all doing like normal jobs. They're all doing, whether it's marketing, salesman, accountant, farm boy, like a lot of them work on the farm, like we're building houses, all this shit, construction, and they're looking at us like, Jesus Christ, like what are these guys doing? They don't have their shit together, and it's sort of a choice. Like we chose this when we were 20 to try to make this happen, like this type of life happen, and I think that I won't regret that when I'm old. I don't know about you, but I won't regret giving it a go, and trying my best to make a difference in the world. Like lyrically, I know you're really great at lyrics and they mean something to us as far as writers and performers. But it's way better than wanting to kill myself at 40 because I became an accountant and didn't express myself and whatever. So in my opinion, you should give yourself some grace because we've taken a swing. You know what I'm saying? Like this is not an easy thing to do, as most people can probably tell by now after the addictions conversation. But like this is a hard life, and it's fun. In the photos, it's like, oh, they're having a good time. They're playing music. They're hanging out with John Wysocki from Stained. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, but also let's talk about the cocaine that we did that night when we hung out with John Wysocki. Like, I met one of my heroes that night in Stained, and I was like shaking in my boots. And it was like normalized to you because you and your dad knew John Wysocki, or your dad knew John Wysocki, and he was kind of around Nashville. And I was freaked the hell out. I was like, oh my God, Stained? That's all I listened to. And I was like 9 through 15 years old. And all of a sudden I'm in a bar hanging out with him, walking around Broadway. And it's just freaky. Like, but you realize these people are just humans in like 20 minutes. Like 2 cigarettes in, I was like, oh, he's not some like mythical creature or anything. He's just a guy. And turns out he had a drinking problem too. And it's like really tough to watch this sort of happen to yourself, and you're looking at this rock star, and you see that, and Aaron Lewis is probably going through it too. And I don't know. It's really interesting to think about how this hard like Rolling Stone type life beats on all of us, and we all age like fucking gator skin.
Dude, I swear to God, there's a reason why I'm 27 and I look 35, and it's the years of drugs and trauma and everything else that I've been through. Yeah, I should be looking much younger right now.
We're beat up, we're bruised, but we're good, dude. I think there is light at the end of the tunnel, though. I think I'm not saved. I'm not healed. I'm not better, like, but I'm better as a human. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I would say the same thing. Like there's still so many things to fix. There's still so many things to work through. Yeah. And you know, I feel like it's gonna be years for that to actually happen, for me to finally be able to sit down one day and look at what's in front of me and just go, and not an hour later, a day later, or a week later have a fucking meltdown. Yeah. But I'm getting there. I'm finally getting there. The years of drugs and
the ebbs and the up and downs, dude.
It's so crazy to look back on some of the stuff, like you bringing up stuff some of the stuff I can't even fucking remember, and it's like, God damn it, dude.
Well, the G-force of that shit is like, that's why we look like, I have dudes at work that think I'm 37. Yeah. I'm like, I just turned 30, motherfucker. They're like, oh, you're not almost 40? I'm like, nah.
Yeah, fuck you, dude.
Yeah. But it's like, it's crazy, dude. And like and I'm trying to turn to this, like, we put our hearts and souls into original music, and the only thing that seems to stick on like TikTok or Instagram Reels or YouTube is covers. Yeah. And so me and you through the years have done, like, the first one, was it the Pantera cover? Yes. And we're drinking heavy in that one too. We drank fucking 2 liter of Honey Jack the night before, and then
got another one.
And then no. We filled it with iced tea the day of the shoot because we couldn't afford it.
No. We still had whiskey in that bottle. We still had whiskey in the bottle, and then we added sweet tea to it to have more for the video.
But so go look up, what was the song?
Fucking Pantera, Drag the Waters.
Yeah, go look up James Cole, Ivy, and Cody Scott, Drag the Waters Pantera cover.
I watched that a couple months ago, and I kind of just smiled the entire time, because it's, I remember That I broke one of Austin's lenses, which is like a
Yeah, I remember
$10,000
you had,
fucking
by the way.
lens, and it's in the video. He has it in the video where I try to
Yeah.
like do whatever I did, and I ended up just thumping into and I'm literally going, oh,
Yeah, yeah,
that was a fun day, and then we had fucking Ash the dog in the video,
yeah,
and like we were like smoking weed, and like the entire time we were just it was honestly so much fun. Like we
yeah.
do the takes and then like just laugh and laugh and laugh and
Then
then
take a
fucking
hit of
do
that
another one.
weed.
Yeah, take another hit of weed, drink some more whiskey, and then just fucking go and do it again.
Yeah.
We were like fucking throwing each other all around, and it was a great time. And I try to keep in mind that though there was a lot of dark times, um, I still have had positive experiences in my life, and it's usually because of friends.
Friends and music.
Friends
Yeah.
and music. Yeah, that's like the highlights of like the last 6 years of my life. Has been through music, and I mean recently, it's new things, it's other things, it's getting sober and like meeting people and meeting somebody and like finding happiness in another person, and like being in a relationship, or trying to hold down a job and go in and work my ass off every fucking day,
Yeah.
to like try my best to keep my room clean, and just all these things,
Little things that build on each other and you
and
feel
then
better about yourself.
yeah, and then I mean like even like going on like trips, like I went back to my family farm, my mom and papa's, for the first time in years. And like to me,
I saw you shooting guns out there.
yeah, dude,
Pow pow.
it felt like I was never ever gonna see that place again, and that was like growing up. It was my one safe spot, my one happy place. Like my grandparents did anything and everything to make sure that I just had a great time and that I was loved and loved on. Because at home, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
So, and it's again like my father is a great fucking person, but like him being a musician and him being an addict and stuff like that, he wasn't around as much. And I grew up in a household where I was just like basically like, to put it lightly, the least favorite. And at the end of the day, I was treated poorly. And though, I did like I was a kid lashing out over the fact that I had trauma since birth. Since I was shat out into this world, I've been put through hell. And as a kid, I, acted on that and was like a little disaster sometimes. But at the same time, like instead of, getting smacked across the fucking face or being yelled at or, fucking being spanked and beaten and whatever, it was fucking, I just needed somebody to sit me down and tell me that I'm going to be okay,
Yeah.
and that I'm like loved, or like just give me a fucking hug,
Yeah.
like
Throw me a freaking bone here.
yeah, it's just fucking, I'm a kid, dude, like
Yeah.
just please like show me some positivity,
Yeah.
and maybe I can come out a positive person. I didn't get that, but when I went to my memo and papa's, when I went to my fucking memo and papa's, they treated me like their own. So like honestly, my grandparents, I view my grandparents as parents. Just because I was around them so much, and when I was around them, like it was like the positive experiences, and like some of like the good morals that I've learned, and like how to treat a woman and like all that stuff, like was taught to me by my grandparents. And I thought, because I was so deep into my addiction and every day was basically trying to just intake as much as possible and hope that I die at the end of every night, that I thought I was never going to see that place again.
Yeah.
And then I did. I went and saw it, and it felt like a fucking dream, dude.
Yeah.
And
You looked lighter, meaning like I could tell by your mannerisms, like what you're feeling like, and you looked like as a human, like lighter. You know what I'm saying? Like walking a little bit less heavy, like because the weight of the world sort of thing. And I could tell that whatever happened out there, like you were having an actual good time, and you didn't need like anything substance wise to do that for you. And it's,
I did drink with my grandfather, but like I didn't.
yeah,
I
but
didn't
it
have
wasn't
to.
like siphoning it down to get by.
No, we were drinking and shooting guns
Yeah.
and riding four-wheelers at 3 a.m. and playing
Yeah, doing
bongos
country
and
shit.
dude, just having a great time. I didn't
Yeah.
drink because I needed to, and in fact, I hadn't been drinking as much at that point, because I got off drugs, but then like I started drinking a bunch afterwards.
Yeah.
And like now, and I've
It's a compensation.
yeah,
for
I'm
sure.
I've been I've been sober from drugs for June will be 6 months. June will be 6 fucking months.
Fucking go.
I took 3 months off of drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I slowly started getting back into it recently, but it's not been like I don't allow myself to go home and just drink or get off work and go to the bar or anything like that. Like I went kayaking and I drank some wine while I was out kayaking.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Metallica and I had a couple beers with Evan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or my childhood best friend, and I'm at a point to where like my dad had to completely stop drinking.
Yeah.
His father never stopped drinking.
Yeah.
And it's already so indented into our family bloodline that like, I feel like it's my responsibility for my future kid to learn how to appropriately function and not have to. I mean, like drugs, I can never do cocaine again, or it's a fucking failure.
Yeah.
But I like to sip on whiskey when I'm eating certain meats. I like to match my pastas with wine. I'm a chef. Like those things are great. And I love being able to go to my grandfather's, go to my mom and papa's and sit down on the front porch of my papa and drink some whiskey and smoke a cigar and watch the wind blow through the trees and watch a thunderstorm or whatever,
What's the moderation thing? Like,
moderation.
It's the reason I couldn't. So it's like a lot of people, like your thing might have been drugs. My thing became booze. And the reason I had to literally stop immediately was the doctor was like, hey, if you don't stop in 5 years. And I didn't go for a freaking liver checkup. I went for acid reflux because I was becoming a real fat boy at that point. But they told me, they were like, you have 5 years to live if you keep drinking like this. And it was a German guy. It scared the shit out of me. He's like, if you don't stop now, you will die. And I was like, okay. And that was
your little liver is not functioning.
Yeah. And I was like, that was at the end of like one of my cycles. And I was like, it was like my menstrual cycle. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll quit for 3 months again. And then I was like, after I got to 3 months, I was like, because I was getting that itch again. And I was like, I'm only going to end up exactly there again. Because it was like the 20th time that this had happened. And then
you did that a lot.
Yeah.
In our friendship, I've seen you.
I flip flop, dude.
And it's funny because like when you were sober, I always like try to put it in my mind. It's like, all right, not only is he gonna go ghost, he's gonna be a fucking turd sometimes about certain little things that like are just are completely shifted.
I shut off, dude.
Yeah.
Well,
and
it's
like
you
would turn into like a different person.
Yeah.
But like sometimes it felt like it wasn't for the better because you were no longer able to be Cody.
Yeah.
Like you had to
reprogram my entire existence.
Yes.
And my existence in adulthood from 20 to 29 was booze. And we became friends through booze.
We did, yeah.
And so when I was trying to get sober, when those times would happen, the 2 weeks, the 3 months, the 2 weeks, the 3 months, I have to shut off everything. Meaning like communication from anybody that I was drinking with to anybody that I was even like smoking weed, drinking with, any association. The world gives us enough, like Coors Light. You get your beers. We raise our cattle right. Like every commercial is booze related, bro. We go downtown. This city is booze related. I had to completely disassociate from my prior self. And in doing so, had to be a shitty person in order to find myself now, which is over like a year and 2 months or something, and I've never been sober this long since I was 12. So I agree that I had to be a fucking dick in order to come full circle to find that little 12-year-old again and give him a hug, essentially. I told a few of my friends, like, I carry around a picture of my 4-year-old self in my little phone, and I look at that thing and I'm like, that boy needs a fucking break. Meaning, like, whether it's, we had different traumas growing up, and I'm not going to sit here and boo-hoo because I know my family's going to sit here and fucking watch it, but, like, I had my own shit going on, and that little boy needed some extra hugs. Yeah. And I think
I'm the same way.
Yeah. And so when getting sober, I didn't know who I was. And you know this, when you get sober, you're like a walking raw nerve. Anyone could say anything, and you're like, oh, I'm going to drink again. I'm just going to go drink again. Yep. It'll be easy. And
one bad day at work.
Yeah. Whatever. And so, like, for me and you, I know probably a lot of people watched us be so tight during the pandemic, and then I had to shut the relationship down for like a year, because I don't know if it was a full year, but it was like a solid 10 months, 11, 12. Like, it was a long time, because my friends, and I didn't even hang with my bandmates. I hang with like one or two people, and then mostly it was like whoever I was in a relationship with, because they were like
that was something that would piss me off too, because like you were so up your girlfriend's ass, but then I would get jealous from it. I'm like, what the fuck?
What's she doing?
What about us?
Do? What can I do that she can do? But yeah, dude, I had to, and that's what sometimes you got to do that. Like, you gotta fuck off you have to rewire your brain, and I'm not fully rewired, but I'm certainly way better than I was when that started. When I shut off originally from you, I was a really bad guy, like, meaning internally a bad villain in my head. And I had to find that sweet boy that's innocent, didn't ever do a drug, didn't ever drink again, in order to be an actual friend to my friends. Like, you can't, I don't believe you can be a good friend and an addict at the same time. I truly don't. Because you're on and off.
Addicts can be good friends to each other.
Can they, though?
I feel like
you flip-flop, and if they don't have a bump or a fucking whatever, you're not gonna be a good friend.
You know what? Yeah. I guess, like, when it came to you and me, it's like we bonded over our addictions, and like,
yeah, we'd be drinking the whole time.
we kind of soared through our addictions with each other.
Yeah, I'm not saying that was a blast. That's what I'm saying. We had, like, so much fun.
There are so many people that when I got sober, and when I first started trying to get sober 2 years ago, over 2 years ago, 3 years, whatever, I'd go and try to hang out with some people, and they'd be like, and I'd be like,
yeah,
can I just get one? And they're like, sure, bro.
Yeah.
Even though I literally just talked to them 3 days beforehand, and I was like, hey man, I never want to do that shit again. Please don't do it around me. You know?
Yeah.
Like, and the thing is I'm starting to get a new perspective on some stuff. And one of those perspectives is I feel horrible for the goddamn people who are never going to get to experience at one point a shift in their life where things change, and they're not living in some shitty fucking punk house with 6 other fucking people
with roaches and shit.
Yeah, and fucking everything's dirty, and goddamn, you know, the only thing that they can do to get through their fucking lives is when they get off work, they go fucking party with a bunch of other people who are also in shit situations. And they're never gonna get to experience, like, even if they do have a kid, they're not gonna be functioning well enough, and like their kid's gonna get taken away. You know, whatever. Like, I'm looking forward to the white picket fence. Yeah. Fucking girl and kid kind of like futuristic thing.
Yeah.
Like,
once you found a healthy relationship, you notice an actual change, like a visceral.
Like, what you want in life just like completely shifts.
Yeah. Well, like 4 years ago, me and you were like, no kids, no wives, no what? It's like
music only, man.
But also bleak as fuck. Yeah. Like, we either want to kill ourselves or we want to play the show on Friday.
Yeah.
That's it, dude.
or you want to kill yourself, but you want to play the show on Friday,
Right,
so you don't.
Yeah. But it's like, but when you finally, it's like a full circle thing. When you get in a decent relationship, you treat each other well. You're still a sick puppy, but you're like learning. Because I'm not fixed by any means, but like I'm learning. You can look back at that terrible past and be like, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do this. You can like pick the things of the character traits that were good and like use those, and then like toss away all the bad shit, or try your best to, because some of it lingers. But like, and no one's gonna be perfect, and I sure as fuck am not. Like, I could still be a dick sometimes. I could still be isolated sometimes. But like right at this moment, I'm doing pretty good for me. You know, like. I'm trying to do the gratitudes thing, because I get sick of sober people a lot. Like, I notice how I don't go to AA, but I do embrace the gratitude thing. Like, I'm trying, and that's part of the rewiring that I was doing during that year, was like, go outside. It's nice out. Look at the trees. It's sunny outside. You have a roof. You have food. Like, this simple shit, and I just tried to do that every single day, and it started like building on itself. And then like I feel like I can tell people that are having issues, like I was, like, this is what to do. You can literally walk out of your addiction, because I was doing that, like taking walks every single day. And you can literally walk out of it. You don't have to go to AA. Everybody's getting sober is different. And I still drink CBD juices. I'll smoke CBD occasionally. I can't do THC because it makes me fucking crazy. But I don't know. I feel like there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and I think we're reaching it. I think this is like the tip of the iceberg for the I think our 30s are going to kick ass, essentially, because our 20s pretty much were rough as fuck.
Yeah.
And I think the 30s comparatively will be like a major shift, because like, once you see that shift, you want to hold on to that thing. For sure.
I finally, like I have a car, I have a job, I have a house.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm renting, and I live with one roommate. I barely see him though, and he's a cool guy.
And you have a great girl.
Yeah. And then, eventually, like, one day, hopefully, fucking, you get to the point to where you move in with your partner, and you fucking, you have a kid or two, and then you fucking, you start your own family, and in a way, you get to restart your life. Everything after that no longer matters. What matters is the future that you have ahead of you.
Well, and you have the chance to break the chain.
Yeah, and break the fucking curse.
Yeah.
And when that kid grows up, like, they're gonna grow up and be like a strong fucking person. And if they happen to even have the same issues that I've had throughout my life, like mentally, because it is genetically passed down. It's like, I'm gonna be able to see,
walk them through it. Hold their
walk
hand
them,
through it.
yeah, like fucking at a young age. I'm gonna be like, when other people are like, why the fuck is this kid
spazzing?
Why can't he just sit the fuck down? I'm like, because he probably has ADHD.
He needs some stimulation.
He needs to go outside. Like, I need to fucking wrestle with them. Whatever, like, I am so fucking looking forward to that ever happening.
Well, in that sense of love, with our sensitivity that we've talked about in the beginning, I think we can use that as like a superpower. Like, especially with like kids. That's why I want kids someday. Because when we got so bleak in our 20s, and we're like, life sucks, life is terrible, all this, like, every single day, there is no God, there's no, like, all this stuff. And I think once I have children, that love that I've been missing will be like, that's the piece of your heart that's like not there. And it's like, you get to retry, you restart the video game essentially. And it's like, you get to plant seeds in this little mini you's head that, like, it's not so bad. Yeah. And I can show you that how to dodge bullets essentially. Yeah. And I think,
and it's a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
It's a sense of purpose that, like, you're not gonna have. And
well, you think you love that dog, I bet you love that kid. Hell, like, I feel like it's like steroided up love. Like I love my kitten right now, right? I'm obsessed with this kitten. If anyone touches that kitten in a bad way, I will murder you. You know what I'm saying? But if I have a kid as well, hopefully someday, I know that will be like the pillar of my like my well-being. Like that's there's no, I think that's what humans were built to do, is like procreate and like raise children and love and all that, but we've kind of forgotten that because music is so like, we live in like a bleak city. You're either successful or you're definitely not, and it's like, I think you can be successful in your own right, whether it's music and a kid or just being a successful dad. Like I look forward to that sort of thing. So, but anyway, how long have we talked? I went 2 hours, I think. 1 hour? How long were we at? I don't know. But you're with your band, Aphonia. You just played. Was that your first show? I just saw you at the Vinyl Lounge.
No, that was our second show.
Well, that kicked ass. And I was happy to be there. Me and Calvin from Sidewinder showed up. We had a great time. I brought my girl with me, and she was bopping around. She doesn't even listen to metal music. She's like, I think I like this. And I was like, oh, okay. Have another Red Bull vodka. And we had a great time. But what do you have planned for Aphonia? Like, what's your next plan for them?
We definitely want to tour. You know, we want to just do the thing. Right now we're having to figure some stuff out because our boy Wyatt left, and with him went a lot of equipment and stuff as well. So we're kind of having to start over from scratch with a lot of stuff. We have a show coming up. We have some fill-ins, and we have some people that said that they'll let us use their equipment and stuff like that. So, got a show on June 12th that hopefully we're gonna be able to play. And then after that, it'll just be playing shows. We have some more music videos coming out. We have a lot of merch that's about to get put up. I am planning on releasing some solo stuff for the first time in 4 fucking years. It's going to be like a bunch of different genres. I have a fucking rap song. I have a shoegaze song. I have a deathcore song. I have straight up just like radio bop rock song. Like, I just have so much stuff that, I don't want to put a timeline on it, but I'm definitely at least going to release one of those things this year.
Yeah.
And I really have a lot of musical stuff that is finally flowing, regardless of drawbacks.
Yeah.
And for the first time, I've put out an EP. I have EPs sitting around in fucking Google Drive that might never see the light of day, but I put this shit out. So
you're headstrong trapped, bro.
Headstrong, I'll suck your dong.
Okay, last question. And this might be a tough one. This might be a crier, but truly, to your core, what would you tell your 19-year-old self as advice when you first started? Like, what would you warn him of, or what would you tell him right now? Like, looking back, if you could literally talk to him right now.
I'd tell him that it's going to be okay.
And that's it?
At the end of the day, I don't know if I would go back and, I mean, there's lots of horrible things that I've done, and there's lots of horrible things that I've yet to see where all of that pain and suffering has fully switched over into the extreme opposite of success, and a mindset of learned things.
Would you give him a hug? He'd probably push you off, huh?
I don't know. I think I'd honestly smack that motherfucker across the face a bunch of times. But at the same time, since I was shot out into this world, all I needed was a fucking hug. And instead, I had the opposite.
But what would you do to him? Smack him and hug him?
Yeah, I think a good smack across the face and then a hug. Um, I don't want to look back on my life anymore and look at it all as mistakes. I definitely feel like I've lost time. But maybe just with who I am, I'm not the things that I'm slowly falling into and like shifting into as a person and like the experiences that I'm having, I feel like I wouldn't be able to appreciate them as in depth like I do now when they happen. Because I when I have these good moments, I just hold on to them
Yeah.
so fucking tightly, and I try to remember every second versus beforehand. I drowned every second away.
Yeah. Well, because you've seen pain, and when you see happiness, you're like, I'm gonna suck this.
Dude,
thing
I
dry.
fucking cry when I watch a mom be nice to their kid on TV. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just a sensitive little boy
Yeah.
trapped in a man's body.
Well, we're all sensitive boys, aren't we, boys? I think that's a good piece to end on. You're allowed to be sensitive. You're allowed to be vulnerable. I think we look like scary characters, and I think maybe everybody in the scene thinks we look unapproachable, maybe. But we're pretty soft boys, and I think people can be more understanding and loving, and people can change, and they do change. And I think everybody deserves a few chances before you cut them out of your lives.
Some people need second, third, fourth, five, six, seven chances before they finally
Yeah.
fucking learn.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's the hard love that gets them to do that. Like
Yeah.
the harsh family type of love. But either way, I love this kid, and I have been friends with him for about six years now.
Going on seven.
7 years. And we've watched each other go through major shifts, ups and downs, and I appreciate them all. I look back and I'm like, it was rough a lot, but it was also a lot of good times, and I don't really regret any of it because, again, like you said, I wouldn't be able to enjoy the happiness I have now without that type of visceral pain and suffering. So I think both you and I will have quite the bright lives going forward. Whether it's going to be tough sometimes, but it's like I think it'll all be worth it. But I love you, buddy, and thank you for joining Upload Asylum.
Yeah, dude. I love you too.
Peace out, people.
Eat a dick.
If I could wear your skin